Somewhere in your neighborhood, there's a hosta growing in a forgotten corner of a yard that hasn't been watered, fed, or even looked at in 10 years, and it's thriving. Meanwhile, you might have killed one in a pot on your porch within a single summer while checking on it every day. That's not that luck. That's the strange truth about hostas. They don't die from neglect. They die from the wrong kind of attention. And once you understand the 5 things I'm about to show you, you'll be able to grow hostas so tough, so self-sufficient, that you could leave for a month and come back to a plant that looks better than when you left. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn why most hosta deaths happen in the first 3 weeks after planting, and the one planting mistake that causes almost all of them. You'll find out why some hostas laugh at the sun while others burn to a crisp, and how to tell which one you're holding before you ever put it in the ground. You'll learn the watering trick that works with the hosta's own built-in engineering instead of against it, the real reason slugs destroy some hostas and ignore others completely, and finally, the counterintuitive secret that separates a good hosta from a spectacular one, knowing exactly when to do absolutely nothing. None of this requires special products or daily effort. In fact, most of it requires less effort than you're probably putting in right now. Let's get into it. Number 1, plant the crown proud. Here's the thing nobody tells you at the garden center. When a hosta dies, it almost never starves and it almost never dries out. It rots, and it rots from one specific spot, the crown. That's the tight knuckle of tissue where the leaf stems meet the roots right at the soil line. That crown is the plant's command center, and it has one weakness. It cannot tolerate sitting in constant moisture. Now think about what most people do when they plant a hosta. They dig a generous hole, drop the plant in, and backfill until the soil comes up nice and snug around the base of the stems. It feels right, it looks tidy, and it slowly suffocates the plant. Because now every rainfall, every watering, every morning dew settles right into that crown and stays there. Within weeks, especially in heavy soil, the tissue softens, turns mushy, and the whole plant collapses from the center outward. People look at that and think, I must have underwatered it, so they water more, and they finish the job. The fix takes 10 seconds. When you plant a hosta, set it so the crown sits slightly proud of the surrounding soil, about ½ inch to 1 inch higher than ground level. Mound the soil gently away from the base so water sheds outward instead of pooling inward. If you're working with heavy clay, go even higher and plant it on a slight raised mound. The roots will happily grow down into the moisture below, while the crown stays dry and safe up top. And here's why this is the foundation of a hosta that survives being forgotten. A plant with a dry, healthy crown can shrug off drought, shade, poor soil, and total neglect. Its roots go deep, it stores energy in that crown like a battery, and it comes back year after year no matter what you do. But a hosta with a buried, wet crown is living on borrowed time from day one, and no amount of care afterward can fix a planting mistake. Get this one thing right, and you've already done the most important work you'll ever do for this plant. Quick one if you actually want a step-by-step guide for all this. Maybe your plant's struggling, or you just can't get it to bloom. I put every fix into one cheat sheet. You get everything in my Plant Fix and Bloom cheat sheet. It's the first link in the description. Let's continue. Number 2, read the leaf color. Everyone knows hostas are shade plants, except that's only half true, and believing it fully is why so many hostas end up looking pale, floppy, and lifeless in dark corners where they were never meant to live. Here's the secret. A hosta's leaf color is a set of planting instructions written directly on the plant. You just have to know how to read it. Blue hostas, the ones with that gorgeous, powdery, silvery blue sheen, need the deepest shade of all. And the reason is fascinating. That blue color isn't actually pigment, it's a waxy coating on the surface of the leaf, almost like a layer of frost. Direct sun literally melts it off. So does spraying the leaves with water on a hot day. Once that wax is gone, the leaf underneath is just plain green, and it won't turn blue again until new leaves emerge next season. If your blue hosta keeps turning green on you, it's not sick. It's telling you it's getting too much sun or too much overhead water. Gold and yellow hostas are the opposite. They actually need a few hours of morning sun to develop that rich golden glow. Keep them in deep shade and they fade to a washed out, sickly lime color that looks perpetually unwell. 2 to 4 hours of gentle morning light, and they absolutely radiate. Green hostas are your flexible middle ground. They'll tolerate the widest range of conditions, from fairly deep shade to a decent amount of morning sun. And variegated hostas, the ones with white or cream edges and centers, need bright, indirect light. Those pale sections have no chlorophyll, which means the green parts have to work overtime. Too dark and the plant weakens. Too much direct sun and those white sections scorch brown because there's no pigment protecting them. So before you plant, look at the leaves and let them tell you where to go. Blue in the deep shade under trees, gold where the morning sun reaches, green almost anywhere, variegated in the bright protected spots. Match the color to the light and your hosta doesn't just survive, it develops the richest color of its life, and it does it without a single ounce of help from you. Number 3. Water the way the plant was engineered. Take a close look at how a hosta is shaped. Every leaf is a broad, curved funnel, and every stem angles down toward the center of the plant. This isn't an accident. A hosta is a rain-harvesting machine. When rain falls on that canopy, the leaves catch it and channel it down the stems, delivering it directly to the root zone below. The plant waters itself. It's been perfecting this design for millions of years in the forest understories of Asia, where it evolved to survive on whatever rainfall filtered down through the trees. Which means most of us are watering hostas completely wrong. We stand there with a hose, spraying the leaves from above a little bit every day or two, and that shallow, frequent watering does 2 damaging things. First, it keeps the top inch of soil constantly damp, which is exactly the environment slugs need to move around, and exactly the moisture that threatens the crown we just talked about protecting. Second, it teaches the roots to stay shallow. Why would they grow deep when everything they need is at the surface? So you end up with a plant that's completely dependent on you. Skip a week of watering and it wilts dramatically, because its entire root system lives in the first 2 inches of soil. You've accidentally trained your hosta to need you. The secret is to water rarely, deeply, and at the base. Once a week during dry spells, put the hose on a slow trickle at the drip line, the outer edge of the leaves, where the funnel design naturally delivers water, and let it soak for a good 10 to 15 minutes. Then walk away and don't touch it again until the top 2 inches of soil are genuinely dry. What you're doing is pushing moisture deep into the ground and forcing the roots to follow it down. Within a season or 2, you've built a root system so deep that the plant can pull water from reserves you can't even see. And that's when the magic happens. A deep-rooted hosta becomes functionally drought-proof. You can forget about it for 2-3 weeks in summer, and it barely notices because it's drinking from a foot down while the surface bakes. The neglected hosta thriving in that abandoned yard? This is its secret. Nobody trained it to be needy. Number 4. Win the slug war before it starts. Let's talk about the one enemy every hosta grower knows: slugs. Those ragged holes chewed through your beautiful leaves overnight, like someone took a paper punch to your garden. Most people fight this battle with coffee grounds, eggshells, beer traps, and crushed hopes. And most people lose, because they're fighting the symptom instead of the cause. Here's what actually determines whether slugs destroy your hostas: leaf substance and surface moisture. Those are the only 2 factors that matter, and you control both. First, substance. Slugs have soft mouth parts, and they strongly prefer thin, tender leaves they can rasp through easily. Thick, heavily textured, corrugated hosta leaves, the ones that feel almost like leather or seersucker fabric between your fingers, are genuinely difficult for them to eat. And here's a beautiful coincidence. The blue varieties with that thick, waxy coating are among the most slug-resistant hostas on Earth, because slugs hate crawling across the wax and struggle to chew the thick leaf beneath it. So if slugs have historically wrecked your garden, the single most effective thing you can do is choose thick-leaved, blue, or heavily puckered varieties from the start. You're not managing the problem anymore. You've made your plants inedible. Second, surface moisture. And this connects directly to the watering secret. Slugs can only travel across damp surfaces. They're most active at night, gliding across wet soil and wet leaves to reach their dinner. If you water in the evening, you're rolling out a red carpet for them, refreshing the moisture right as they wake up. But if you water deeply in the morning, the soil surface has the entire day to dry out. By nightfall, your hosta is surrounded by a dry, rough barrier that slugs genuinely struggle to cross. Same amount of water, same plant, completely different outcome just by changing the time of day. Put those two together, thick-leaved varieties plus morning-only watering, and you've solved 90% of the slug problem without a single trap, pellet, or product. The plant defends itself, which is exactly what you want from something you plan to forget about. Number 5. Master the art of doing nothing. This last secret is the hardest one for attentive gardeners to accept, and it's this. Past a certain point, your hosta doesn't want your help, it wants your absence. And there are two moments in this plant's life where doing nothing is the most powerful thing you can do. The first is autumn. When the leaves start yellowing and collapsing in fall, something in us wants to intervene, feed it, water it, save it. Don't. That decline isn't death. It's the plant deliberately pulling every ounce of energy out of its leaves and banking it in the crown and roots for winter. Hostas actually need that cold dormancy period. It's non-negotiable for them, which is why they struggle in climates without a real winter. The worst thing you can do is fertilize in late summer or fall, because it pushes out soft new growth right before frost, growth that gets destroyed and wastes the plant's savings. Let it yellow. Let it collapse. Once the leaves have fully died back, you can clear them away to remove slug hiding spots and then walk away until spring. The plant knows what it's doing. The second, and this is the one that surprises people, is division. There's a persistent myth that hostas need to be divided every few years, like some kind of maintenance schedule. The truth is the exact opposite. A hosta left completely undisturbed gets bigger, denser, and more spectacular every single year, and the giant, jaw-dropping specimens you see in mature gardens are almost always plants that haven't been touched in a decade or more. Every time you dig up and split a hosta, you set it back 2 to 3 years while it rebuilds its root system. Divide it only if you genuinely want more plants, never because you think the hosta needs it. It doesn't. And this is the deepest truth about hostas. They are one of the only plants in your garden that genuinely rewards neglect. The crown stores years of energy. The roots run deep. The plant improves with age like nothing else you'll ever grow. Your job is to set it up right, plant the crown proud, match the color to the light, water deep and rare in the morning, choose thick leaves, and then get out of the way and let time do what time does. So here's your challenge. Pick one spot in your garden, that shady corner you've never known what to do with, and plant a hosta there using everything you just learned. Crown high, color matched to the light, one deep morning soak, and then leave it alone. Come back in 3 years and see what patience builds. If this video helped you see hostas differently, hit that like button so more gardeners can find it, and subscribe with the notification bell turned on because we release new plant guides every single week that go this deep. And tell me in the comments, what's the oldest, most neglected plant in your garden that's still going strong? I read every single one. Until next time, happy gardening.